between the Seattle Seahawks, who I this year predicted would win 6 games. They've won 7 already. They are 7-2. The Los Angeles Rams with Matthew Stafford, who, remember, in our NFL prediction show, we both said, is Matthew Stafford even going to be healthy this year? And yet here he is playing at an MVP level. And these teams, Josh, you have been saying for the past couple of weeks, Lions-Bucks is going to be the battle for the number 1 seed in the NFC. Before the year, you said Packers-Eagles is going to be the battle for the number 1 seed in the NFC. Are we saying that about this game now between the Seahawks and the Rams?
Here's the only asterisk I would put on that is the Eagles already beat the Rams back in week 3 in Philly. So the Eagles have the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Rams. Whereas if Seattle wins, I don't know what the tiebreaker would be between those two.
So you're saying I should theoretically be rooting for the Rams?
Yes.
I'm interested to see. Seattle is a young team. They're flying around. They just completely decimated Arizona. That game was over in legitimately 5 minutes, and I'm not joking.
That defense, can I speak on that for a second?
Go ahead.
Mike McDonald has turned this defense into the second version of the Legion of Boom. Like, this DeMarcus Lawrence leaves Dallas and goes, you want to see me get a strip sack? You want to see me do it again? This defense is just flying around. They hit you hard. If you're not ready, they will just blow you away. And then I want them to run the ball more with Walker and Charbonnet. Like I told you, I think Rashid Shaheed was the most impactful move of the trade deadline because now defenses can't rotate their coverage towards Jaxson-Smith and Jigba. You have to worry about Shaheed on the other side. And I think that's going to be the most important matchup in this game is the Seahawks passing game against the Rams secondary, as in their cornerbacks and safeties.
So I said last week, and this is why I think that this game matters more to the Seahawks than it does the Rams, because I think the Seahawks are playing like legitimate Super Bowl contenders. The problem I have is last year at 14-3, the Minnesota Vikings were also legitimate Super Bowl contenders. And then the last week of the year, Sam Darnold plays awful against the Lions, plays awful against the Rams in the playoff game, and now he's here in Seattle. I think the Seahawks need home playoff games, and I think the Rams are more seasoned than Seattle. And in my humble opinion, outside of Baker Mayfield, this will be easily the best quarterback Seattle will have faced all year long to this point in Matthew Stafford. They will be tested. We're going to know for sure how good Seattle is after this game.
Okay. I know that the NFL generally does not schedule both divisional matchups to be on prime time, but schedule makers, what are we doing? You could have easily flexed this game into Monday Night Football instead of Cowboys-Raiders. Really?
Well, actually, they can't because by rule, they can't flex a Monday night game until week 12.
This is week 11, but still, that's stupid. This game is much better than Cowboys-Raiders. I'm sorry, but that game's pathetic.
Yeah, how Dallas got a Monday night game and then a bye and then another Monday night game is beyond me.
Yeah, and Dallas also has more national spotlight because they get to play the Eagles at home. Then they host the Chiefs on Thanksgiving. I don't know why the league is obsessed with the Dallas
And then
Cowboys.
I think they play the Lions on Thursday night after that.
But so I think while I understand what you're saying about the NFL can't flex games into Monday night until week 12, in this case, I am saying that is bullshit. This game should be flexed into Monday Night Football. It is potentially for the number 1 seed. These two teams are so evenly matched, in my opinion. I would give the slight edge to Seattle right now because of their defense.
Well, it's crazy. Hold on. I'll just go back to your point about the flexing of the Monday Night Football game. You know that Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt are not even calling this game?
What game are they calling?
They're calling Packers-Giants.
Are you what?
I'm serious. Joe Davis and Greg Olsen are on the call for Seahawks-Rams.
That's even worse.
I love your reaction.
That's even worse.
Well, Greg Olsen is the best analyst in the game. I mean, you can't. I know Joe Davis can be annoying, and he is, but I put up with him because Greg Olsen's so great, in my opinion.
Oh, I hate Joe Davis after the way he called the World Series.
But I mean, to your point, you're saying this thing should be flexed into Monday night. The NFL isn't even having its A crew at this game.
Yeah, which is stupid. I'm in the Cleveland area, so are you. Guess what? I can't watch this game.
Because we're getting Browns-Ravens at 4:25, which why they made the Browns home game against Baltimore in the 4:25 window, I have no idea either. But
Browns-Ravens is airing on CBS at 4:25.
Yes, but the NFL rules say that if you have a team at home, you can't have another game on the other channel. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Which means because the Ravens are playing the Browns at 4:25, guess what game I cannot watch? Oh, I don't know. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs against Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. Which game do you think I'd rather watch?
It may be worth it for you, man. Just invest in a half a season of Red Zone at this point.
I have NFL Red Zone.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes, but still, this type of thing pisses me off. And as I just got the loud environment notification on my Apple Watch.
As Josh is getting angry. Well, speaking of Chiefs-Broncos, should we move on to that game? Because, Josh, I know what people are going to tell me. Oh, you say the Eagles win a tough game 10-7, but then you're cramping on the Broncos for winning the game 10-7. There's a difference. The Eagles were on the road against a good Packer team, no matter what you think about the Packers, in a 26-degree environment in Lambeau Field. The Broncos were hosting a helpless Raiders team at home. And they've done this every single week where they should have lost the Giants. They should have lost to the Jets, who beat the Browns with 50 freaking passing yards. Okay? The Broncos are not good. There is a reason why the Chiefs are favored on the road by 3.5. Some books say 4.5. That never happens for an 8-2 team against a 5-4 team. This is a Kansas City blowout coming off a bye, in my opinion, written all over it. I think this could be like 27-13 Kansas City. And before you go, one more thing. Very interesting this week on Friday. After the Thursday night game, you know that Sean Payton, before he took over the Denver job, he used to work at Fox. Well, he was at Fox. 2 employees there, Colin Cowherd, Chase Daniel, got very close to Sean Payton. Before the Raider game, they were talking about how great Bo Nix is and he's a perfect fit for Sean Payton. And then after the Broncos-Raiders game Thursday night, both came out on the air on Friday and said that Sean Payton may be thinking about getting another quarterback. I don't think that's accidental. I think Bo Nix has regressed. I heard Dan Orlowski, who you mentioned on ESPN earlier, talking about the fact that in the pocket, there is a clean pocket. There are guys open. He's not seeing it. And I don't care what Denver says. You're 8-2. you're probably the worst 8-2 football team I've seen since maybe the 11-0 2020 Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's funny you mentioned the 2020 Pittsburgh Steelers because I was going to bring them up as the perfect comparison. And it's ironic that I'm the one saying that because I predicted the Broncos to win the AFC West when we did the prediction special.
And here's the funny thing. If they somehow win this game, you're right, because they're going to win the division.
Yeah. But that being said, I still think this game is more important for Denver because you have Kansas City, who is a veteran group. Patrick Mahomes has never been eliminated prior to the AFC Championship. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time Super Bowl MVP, so he knows how to win these types of games. And on top of that, I don't think the Broncos are going to have Patrick Surtain because he's on IR, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, you're right.
Which, in my opinion, that's a little bit of the Chiefs' dark magic coming back into play for whatever it's worth. But with Patrick Surtain out, he's really the captain of this Broncos defense. And yet they did play well against the Raiders on Thursday, but there's only so much the defense can do before they just get tired and whatnot. And your offense is going to have to step up. And that's
the other thing that I think was the difference between Philly's 10-7 win and Denver's 10-7 win was the Eagles' offense was mostly sustaining drives. They'd get a couple first downs. It would just either be a turnover or a penalty that would back them up, and they just couldn't cash in. The Broncos started this game down 7-0, and their first 4 drives on offense were 3-and-out, 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 3-and-out.
Yeah. I was expecting more out of Cortland Sutton this season. And I really liked the kid they drafted at running back, I think 20th overall, if I'm not
RJ Harvey. No, he was in the second round. It was Hampton who went in the first round for the Chargers.
Okay.
So here's the thing about Denver, though. It looks like to me, after Bo Nix struggles for about 3.5 quarters, Sean Payton just says, F it. Get in the no huddle and go out there and let it loose. And it's like Bo Nix just calms down. He turns into a completely different quarterback.
It's almost like he reverts back to what he was at Oregon.
It's weird. I've never seen a team like Denver. Now, they should have beat Kansas City last year in Kansas City, which is the other thing. We all remember the blocked kick at the end of the game where Denver had that game won.
Yes. And Denver has to play at Kansas City later in the season.
That's a Christmas night game.
Yes, I think isn't that a Thursday night game?
Yeah, it's technically the Thursday night game on Prime because Christmas is on a Thursday.
Yes. But I think the Christmas games again are being aired on Netflix.
That is correct. There's going to be 2 games on Netflix, Lions, Vikings, and then Cowboys, Commanders.
Okay. And then Broncos, Chiefs will be airing on
Is the night game 8:15 regular Amazon Prime game, yes.
Okay, gotcha. We'll see how they do compared to the NBA, but we'll get
I mean, listen, I don't know. I think this game is equally important for both teams. It's obviously equally important for Kansas City if they want to win the division. But if Denver loses this game the way I think they could, Denver's going to be viewed as frauds.
You know what's interesting though, and you briefly mentioned them because of their offensive line issues and the fact that they could get Justin Herbert killed. But the Chargers, if you remember, started the season 3-0, or I think 3-0 if I'm not mistaken.
And 3-0 in the division.
Yes, that's what I'm referring to. They are currently 3-0 in the division. So if Kansas City wins this game, that opens the door for the Chargers to possibly win this division.
Possibly. Though the funny thing is, at 3-0, we all thought the Chargers were the favorites to win the division, and now they're clearly in third.
Right. But I still think that if Kansas City wins this game, that reopens the door for the Chargers to win it.
Maybe slightly. I don't know. The Joe Alt injury, the Rashawn Slater injury, long term. Maybe if they get Amari and Hampton back. The Chargers are like a week-to-week team. I don't know what to make of them.
Yeah, that was a bizarre game against the Steelers.
Who are you kidding? It was 5-3 until Ed McConkey broke the game open.
Yeah, I was like, wait, is this Steelers Chargers or is this Pirates against the Angels? Because to me, the Rams are the equivalent of the Dodgers, and the Chargers are the equivalent of the Angels.
That's interesting. Well, this Sunday night, I will be waiting all day for Sunday Night Football. Thank you very much, Carrie Underwood. As this is the matchup that everybody in the NFL wanted last year as the NFC Championship game, though it would have had to take place in Detroit between the Lions and the Eagles. We didn't get it because Jared Goff ended up crapping the bed against the Commanders in the divisional round, and the defense gave up, 45 points. And Dan Campbell now, in my opinion, weirdly and strangely and not very Dan Campbell-like, has all of a sudden taken over play calling for the Lions. Now, they did score on every single drive against the Commanders, but maybe the Commanders' defense just quit. This is going to be two bulls going at each other Sunday night, and I want to see how Jared Goff, in particular, handles the cold weather when he's got a pass rush right in his face.
So, you know what's interesting is on the Eagles' way to the Super Bowl, yes, they beat the Chiefs. Yes, they beat the Commanders. But for me, their real Super Bowl was the divisional round game against the Rams. And the reason I mention that is because we never really got to see what the Lions' Super Bowl game was, in my opinion, last season. For me, and why do I mention that? Well, it's because I think this is the Lions' Super Bowl game in the regular season. Does all that make sense?
I can make a case the Super Bowl game last year was maybe Minnesota week 18 to get to the 15 wins, to get to that number one seed.
Okay, that's fair. But do you understand what I'm trying to get at?
Oh, for sure. I think the Lions think that they would have beat the Eagles last year in the NFC Championship game, and I'm on record. Sorry to friend of the show, Jalen Sandvik, but I'm on record that would not have happened. And I think it's going to be a very close, very tight, very physical when they want to scrimmage. My Eagles defensive line, if they played like that, the way they did against Green Bay, that's how we're going to beat the Lions.
It's going to be really interesting to see the chess match between Dan Campbell and Nick Sirianni. By the way, I looked it up. Lions offensive coordinator is John Morton. Remember after week 1, we were like, who is this Lions team? That was unrecognizable.
And they got worked by Green Bay, and I'm here to tell you the same thing could happen Sunday night.
And yet, after that Green Bay game, we were praising John Morton, especially after that Chicago game where they put up 50.
Well, I said that was a bounce back game for that. I think the game that woke everybody up was the Ravens game.
That part is true, yes. And yet, as you mentioned, Dan Campbell took over play calling this past week against the Commanders. So I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think that says more about Dan Campbell, or does it say less about John Morton?
Oh, I think it says way less about John Morton. Do you think Dan Campbell ever once thought about taking over play calling from Ben Johnson?
Heck no.
There you go. There's your answer.
Fair enough. And do you think Sirianni will eventually take over play calling from Kevin Patullo?
No, I don't. Because he learned his lesson. Remember with the Brian Johnson situation where it was back and forth? Is this Sirianni's offense? Is it Brian Johnson's offense? It almost cost them his job. Remember Sirianni made the in-season decision to move off Sean Desai and then move Matt Patricia up, and that turned out to be an absolute abject, complete disaster of a football team.
Yes, because you lost to Drew Lock in Seattle.
Yeah, that was still one of the worst football memories of my entire life.
You're welcome.
But so no, I don't think Nick will do that. And I don't necessarily think Kevin Patullo is the best play caller in the world. I don't think he's no Kellen Moore, but I think there's guys way worse than him. Mainly a guy in Cleveland known as Kevin Stefanski. And a guy in Cleveland known as Tommy Rees. I don't think they know what the hell they're doing. And so I don't think Kevin Patullo is the worst guy in the world. There are some games where I think he's got a good feel for it. And for whatever reason, this Eagles team seems to be like they play better at home this year than on the road. I think they will be up for this game. And I think it's going to come down to which quarterback makes a bigger play, Jalen Hurts or Jared Goff.
In my opinion, Philly's best game of the season was when they went on the road and beat the Vikings. I thought that was their most complete game of the season. I know others would argue that their more complete game was when they hosted the Giants. But to me, when I look back at that Vikings game, that looked more like the Eagles we've come to know over the past.
That was the game that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith both went crazy. The defense played better in the Giants game. And again, I think the defense has played well. I think it's going to come down to can they get pressure on Jared Goff, because we know what Jared Goff turns into if you can get pressure on him. These are the two best offensive lines in football. I think the Eagles' offensive line, I got scared last night when Lane Johnson went down. I thought his season was over. And then he ends up coming back into the game. The thing for this Eagles team is going to be, can they get Cam Jurgens back at center? Because he still wasn't back off the bye. That, to me, is the most concerning part of the offense.
For me, this game comes down to Sonic and Knuckles against Saquon Barkley. I think that's the matchup that will decide this game. I'd like to see the Eagles use other running backs, not be so Saquon dependent, not trying to take anything away from Saquon.
Well, they're starting to use Bigsby and Will Shipley. I know they want to take some of the load off Saquon, so you're not wrong there.
Right. But you know Detroit has a very well-established dynamic duo in Sonic and Knuckles, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. And again, we know Philadelphia is primarily going to use Saquon. You know, he's coming off of nearly breaking the rushing record. Many people thought he should have won MVP. Of course, people are saying the same thing about Jonathan Taylor now, for whatever it's worth. But that's a different discussion for another day. But either way, for me, it really comes down to whose running game will be established quicker. Because if Detroit is able to go in and on that first drive, just run it right down Philadelphia's throat. Granted, I get that the Eagles can make changes defensively, but if the Lions
I 100% agree with you.
Okay. Like, do I think Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta are going to play a factor for Detroit? Yes. Do I think A.J. Brown, Devontae, and Dallas Goedert are going to make an impact for Philadelphia? I think so. I don't know. Because the Eagles' passing game is just so bizarre. So, yes, I would agree with you. The Eagles have problems on the offense. I had Jalen Hurts, Devontae, and A.J. Brown on fantasy last night. I just barely won my game. Even though Jalen was projected to get me like 20 plus points or something.
We have fixable problems on offense.
Fair
Let's put
enough.
it that way. All right. Well, we talked about a lot of these games. So I think our top games of the week this week, I think this may be the quickest segment we've ever done because we've gone over a lot of these games. I am winning more creative and very political, improving offensive. So the last point I disagree with. I've told you this before. I like the fact that Jalen's not running a lot more. The offensive line execution, I think, will come with the addition of Cam Jurgens being back, and I agree. I think that mixing up the personnel would be better. But let's get to our top games. Obviously, for me, number one is going to be Lions Eagles because it is my team. I know Josh is going to have Rams Seahawks, which is understandable, or Seahawks-Rams, excuse me. That's why I have it at number two. Number three is a game that we alluded to a little bit, that we didn't preview it in full. That is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to the Buffalo Bills, because I think the Bills' playoff chances may be on the line in this game in Buffalo. Number four is Chiefs-Broncos. And number five for me is a coin toss between two games. I could choose either one of them here. I went with Bengals Steelers only because I think that the Steelers AFC North chances may be on the line. The other game I was thinking about was Bears Vikings, but I think Steelers Bengals may mean more because I think there's only going to be one team getting out of the AFC North and not two.
Okay. So number one for me, you are correct. It is Seahawks-Rams. We already talked about it. No need to go into it any further. Number two for me, Lions-Eagles. Again, we already talked about it. No need to go into it any further. Number three, I thought you might have this game on your list. I'm curious to see how the Jacksonville Jaguars bounce back after that big collapse against the Houston Texans. You got the LA Chargers coming off of a Sunday night win against the Steelers, having to fly across the country to take on the Jaguars. Side note, my two favorite players of all time played for these two teams. LaDainian Tomlinson, Pro Football Hall of Famer. He played for the San Diego Chargers, not the LA Chargers. I had his powder blue number 21. I don't know what happened to it. I can't find it anywhere. If I gave it away, that was a silly mistake, but he's my all-time favorite player. I just loved the way he ran the ball. And then my second favorite of all time is Maurice Jones-Drew for the Jaguars. Again, he was a bit of a smaller running back, but like LT, I really liked the way he ran the ball. And
you can tell Josh grew up in Cleveland, Ohio as a Browns fan because he loves other running backs.
Yes. So because the Chargers are playing the Jaguars, I had to put this game on my list because my two favorite players of all time, bar none, are their teams are playing each other. Though again, the Chargers should still be in San Diego, not in LA. Because I grew up knowing them as the San Diego Chargers with Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates, LT, Keenan Allen, and some of the other greats. You know they're the only team to have numbers on the side of their helmets in the NFL, by the way?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. So, long story short, Chargers-Jaguars is number three for me. Number four is Chiefs-Broncos. And then at number five, I also have Buccaneers-Bills. This game would be higher on my list.
The reason why I didn't include Chargers-Jags, because I'm pretty done with Jacksonville. I don't know what to make of them. They're a weird team. I think Liam Cohen's pretty done with Trevor Lawrence, too. Like, they're probably going to finish third in the AFC South. I don't really have much of a reason to care for them. I can't get a good read on them. Like, this will be a very good game. I think this could be the game of the 1 o'clock window. I just don't know what to make of it.
My honorable mention would be the NFC South matchup between the Panthers and the Falcons. You called it last week. Remember? You said for the Panthers coming off of winning that game in Green Bay, having to come home, play a divisional matchup against the lowly New Orleans Saints. You said that could be a trap game.
Oh, a lot of my buddies took the Panthers and Survivor pools, and I told them don't do it.
And I said, I think you're crazy, but hey, you were 100% right. I will give you credit.